Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. I'm your host, John June. Gotta have my guy here with me, Greg Penniman. Greg, how you doing today, man?
Doing well, doing all right, man. I'm excited for this primetime game slate, man. It's about time we've got some really high level competition in these primetime games starting tomorrow. Monday night got the Super Bowl rematch, so I'm kind of excited for this weekend. We get to really single out these high level games for once.
Yeah, most definitely get to be able to get some good football, right? We've got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens, which obviously we're going to break down as part of our Thursday night. We've even got, we got a nice slate of Thanksgiving games coming up next week too. So that'll be nice. On that note, just a reminder, we will have our Spodioti Dopa show next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So, make sure you come through, catch us here. We literally will do two shows in one. You'll get, the Thanksgiving Day slate breakdown. You'll get streams of the week. You'll get some starts of the week. Obviously, you'll get the breakdown of all the other games, and we play some Get Money. So it'll be a fun. Maybe that's how we make it, Greg. We play 2 rounds of Get Money on the same weekend.
Thanksgiving slate and then a Sunday slate.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it makes it still an odd number, because then that would give us a tiebreaker. But
that's right. It's 18 weeks. We're on 17 right now, so if we add it, it would be 18. So maybe we don't need to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to tie.
No ties. All right, we'll revisit this. Maybe we'll do it just for fun.
Yeah, or we'll have to add a third one somewhere in the mix. Like Christmas, I'm sure I heard Christmas got some.
Yeah, I don't know how many games we get for Christmas, but yeah, we will sort all that stuff out. If you are watching on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube X or Twitch,
there's a Black Friday game this year. Crazy.
There's a Black Friday game. So definitely make sure you are commenting, liking, subscribing, come interact in the chat, ask some questions. If you got some start-sit questions, you got some trade questions. Trade deadlines are approaching in leagues. So, if you have some trade questions that you want to, run by us, be more than happy to answer those. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, just make sure you go ahead, comment, like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review if it tickles your fancy. It's a nice way to help the show out. Costs you absolutely nothing, but definitely goes a long way. So without further ado, there is some news off the top, and we'll, we're going to talk about the game a little bit later, but just want to get it out the way now in case you have not heard this morning. But Deshaun Watson had season-ending shoulder surgery, so he will miss the remainder of the 2023 season for the Cleveland Browns. They have gone ahead and said that Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a.k.a. DTR, the rookie out of UCLA, will start this Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So something to note there. And then little under-the-radar news that we probably won't really cover until later, until tomorrow when we break down the 4 p.m. games and the primetime games. But Michael Carter was released by the New York Jets. May not have huge fantasy ramifications in terms of there's no one to run and go pick up. But I think it does have some impact on Breece Hall's third down usage because he was not being used on third down. We literally were talking about this the other day, Greg, you and I, about how they don't use him as a receiver. Very frustrating. So I think that, this will lead to probably some spike in that area of production for Breece Hall. I do like Izzy Abanikanda to get some reps here too, explosive rookie. So he's a name to purely watch as just like a depth piece there. But anything you want to add into those two nuggets before we jump into Thursday night, Greg?
No, I mean, yeah, it's tough with the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson definitely was looking better slowly every game, especially the last two. So definitely a bad break for him, and just football hopes for Cleveland Browns. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. So let's jump into Thursday night, starting with obviously the only game that is being played on Thursday night, this Thursday night. The best game we've got thus far on a Thursday night outside of week one when we got Detroit and Kansas City, but we've got the 5-4 Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Baltimore to take on the 7-3 Baltimore Ravens. Both teams coming off a loss here. This game has a 46-point total. The Baltimore Ravens are 3.5-point favorites at home here. Greg, I'm gonna kick it to you. Where are you going with this one?
Definitely taking the under, because I don't know if you heard of on the world, the primetime unders have just been a lock this year. I think it's up to like 25-7. So taking the under, this is a tough game to call. I mean, both teams, Cincinnati definitely needs this game. So I feel like they get the cover and they get the win.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I feel like, like your spirit animal is Joe Burrow and my spirit animal is like Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to over here. I'm going Baltimore to cover, Baltimore to win. I mean, Baltimore handled this Cincinnati team last time on the road. Granted, it was Joe Burrow early in the season, still recovering from that calf injury. But now they get this same, Cincinnati Bengals team at home this time, missing players like T. Higgins, who will be out with the hamstring. Sam Hubbard, who's impactful in that D line. So definitely do like Baltimore in this one. But on the fantasy side, I think this is a great get right game here for Lamar Jackson. The Cincinnati Bengals over their last three games have allowed the ninth most fantasy points to the quarterback position. So Lamar, who has been a little disappointing as of late, especially these last three games, I think has a nice bounce back here. Greg, do you agree with that sentiment, or are you continuing to expect a down production from Lamar Jackson here?
Yeah, I think it will have to come with these legs a little bit more. I think the turnovers too, the fumbles have really killed him as far as his cap too. I think he's still in the QB1 territory. I think I probably take Burrow over Lamar in this game though.
I'm gonna take Lamar over Burrow in this game. I mean, it's close. It is close. I think I have them projection wise. Burrow coming at one spot ahead of Lamar, but Lamar has the better matchup by far. I mean, Baltimore 23rd over the last three games against the quarterback position. Obviously, Deshaun Watson had had found some success against this Baltimore defense late in the second half, but I do expect this defense to continue to give Joe Burrow some trouble here. I do like Mark Andrews in this spot as well. Obviously, he had some disappointing matchups, some disappointing games through this stretch that Lamar's had, but Cincinnati, they've been a great matchup for the tight end position all year. Fifth most fantasy points, PPR points to the tight end position over their last three games. So definitely feels like a get right spot for Mark Andrews as well.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, he's Lamar's top option. Still has to be him, and Zay Flowers should hopefully have a bounce back week in this game.
The question comes down to the running back position for the Baltimore Ravens. Keaton Mitchell has looked really good over these last two games. Had 138 yards rushing on 9 carries 2 weeks ago. Had a 39-yard touchdown run on Sunday. Also had a 34-yard catch and run. Didn't really play much in the fourth quarter of that game, but John Harbaugh has said that he, does want to get Keaton Mitchell involved. And I think in a game like this, we're playing a division rival and Cincinnati Bengals must win. It's too hard to put Keaton Mitchell back in the box.
Yeah, I think he's played himself into that flex category for this week, and rest of the season. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say he's in strong flex yet until I see more touches, but I think it comes in this game, so he enters that flex category. Still think Gus Edwards though is the guy, 20 and under, in the best position to get a touchdown for this offense. He's got a touchdown in 4 straight games now, so he's been doing work for sure in that area.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think Gus is in play as an RB3. You're banking on that touchdown there. Keaton Mitchell, I think, like you said, has played himself into that flex category, that RB3 category potentially. I know I'm starting him in a league because I've got several people on bye, so I really don't have a choice there. Keaton Mitchell, it is on the well, staying with the Baltimore side, Zay Flowers. How do you view him in this matchup? The Cincinnati Bengals, 11th most PPR points to the wide receiver position. They run a ton of man coverage as well. So Zay Flowers seems like the kind of player that should benefit from both of those things here. Are you interested in Zay Flowers, and how do you view him this week amongst the wide receiver position?
Yeah, he definitely played better last week after the first couple of weeks against Seattle and Arizona. I mean, got 5 for 73 last week. I think I would expect a similar kind of performance here. Hopefully, get some more receptions and get over 70 to 80 yards. Yeah, the touchdowns, you're not relying on him to get that all year. He's only had one on the season. You're here for possession receiver PPR guy getting 5+ catches.
Yeah, I agree with that. Probably going to have him as a wide receiver 3 with some upside to sneak into the wide receiver 2 range, just based on how he's been performing recently. But again, I do like this whole offense to kind of elevate here with the spot that Lamar is in. For the Cincinnati Bengals side, obviously, like I said, T. Higgins will not play in this game. We already talked about Joe Burrow. The wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. How do you? Obviously, we know you're going to play Chase. Are you playing Boyd despite the tough matchup here on the surface? The Baltimore Ravens allow the 22nd most PPR points to the wide receiver position. So not a great spot, but still one where I think you could go to. How do you feel about Tyler Boyd?
Yeah, I think he's still in that area to play. I mean, especially with T. Higgins out, Joe Burrow in this offense still going to run the ball. They should establish to run a little more in this game. So I do like more of a Joe Mixon game if they're going to win. But Tyler Boyd is going to get involved. I think at least 5+ targets. Especially in the red zone too. Joe Burrow does look to him. He dropped a touchdown, possibly the game-winning touchdown last week. So Tyler Boyd, I think, is in play. Uh, Usually people look to maybe try and Irwin in this situation, but I think might may want to fade him a little bit more just because Baltimore's pretty good defensively.
Yeah, I agree with that one there as well. Uh, Joe Mixon, I do like, like you said, if Cincinnati is going to win, it's going to be on Joe Mixon is going to have a productive day. I probably will have him ranked as an RB2, but he definitely has some RB1 upside, if he gets in the end zone, of course.
Yeah, I like this day for Joe Burrow. I mean Joe Mixon.
Anything else on this game, Greg? No Tanner Hudson.
No, no, no. I got the under in this game, so no extra people. The kickers always there for kickers in these primetime games.
There you go. All right. What about a bold prediction for the people here, Greg? What do you got this week?
This week I'm chefing up. I mean I've been banging the drum on the under, so I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. Taking that first half under at 23.5, taking the total under, which is at 46, and then give me a Gus anytime. So that's plus 451. That's real nice for the people.
Okay, I
You know.
like that one. I I took the over in this game, so mine is probably a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I like some yards in this game. This is probably the wildest parlay I've given out on a Thursday night.
Ooh, okay, plus 500 over. We're talking plus 1,000.
So I've got Keaton Mitchell, 40 plus rushing yards. I do
Okay.
think that he does get some more volume, and obviously we know the big playability. I've got Lamar Jackson, 225 passing yards.
Okay.
And this is the one where I think, this is gonna be one where we're sweating it out, but I think we get there. Mark Andrews, 7+ receptions.
Oof.
And
That
that is,
225 is gonna be you be sweating that too. That Lamar 225 too.
I don't know,
That's
we'll see.
we'll see. Oh man, yo. Ooh.
But all of that right
Love
there
the odds though.
is plus 941.
Okay. Okay. I mean that's it's worth it, you know?
Yeah, again, it is probably the wildest parlay I've given out. Probably since the DJ Moore ladder.
Oh yeah.
That really isn't really a parlay, but it felt like one, and it felt so nice every time he caught the ball. So I hope
Yeah.
trying to recreate some of this magic here. Yeah, and see if in a good matchup here, if Mark Andrews especially can get us to that 7+ receptions, because again, that's the one I think we'll be probably sweating the most. But let's move on, Greg. We did get a question from our guy Bryce asking, trade K9, Thielen, and Ayuk for Tyreek and Derrick Henry. Yes.
I would do that. Just
Yes.
for Tariq having Tariq alone. The exposure that he can give you any week, it's worth it for sure.
Absolutely. And then you just got to tell yourself the story of like, hey, Derrick Henry, it's getting cold out. It's almost time
Absolutely.
for him to, just run the ball repeatedly against Jacksonville this week. I mean, are we going to talk about that game today? Because I will save that nugget for that game if we are going to talk about it today. Otherwise, I'll bring it up now. And we are talking about it, so I'll save it. But I got a nice little Derrick Henry nugget. But yeah, I would do this trade, just like you said, to get the Tyreek juice.
Yeah.
He says, I still got Adams, Amari, Deontay, and Kirk. Yeah, you're good, man. Do the trade. Or at least it is your team, Bryce. You are free to do whatever you want. We're just giving our opinions. But in my humble opinion, I would make that trade. Moving on to streams of the week. I will start this week. My quarterback stream of the week, going with Jordan Love, 44% rostered in Yahoo leagues. It is not a great week for streaming. It is not a great week.
If you don't got Josh Dobbs, just you're praying that you're struggling right now. Yeah.
Seriously, if you don't have like one of the top elite guys, and even those guys, or some of them are in bad spots.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these other guys are not in great matchups, and a lot of these other guys are rostered above the 50% mark. So,
yep.
Yeah, definitely a tough week for streaming, but I do like Jordan Love this week. For as frustrating as the actual football can seem for Jordan Love, he's been pretty solid fantasy-wise, scored less than 15 fantasy points just 3 times all season. LA Chargers seem like a tougher matchup over their last 3 games, allowing just the 26th most fantasy points to the quarterback position. However, 2 of those 3 matchups did come against Tyson Bagent and Zach Wilson, but he's throwing the ball a decent amount, almost 36 attempts per game over his last 3, while adding 17 rushing yards per game during that span. The Chargers have been a beatable matchup all year, and I expect Jordan Love to have a solid fantasy day this week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he'll get it to everyone not named Christian Watson, and then it'll be all good. It'll be all good. I actually dropped him in the league for Noah Brown, so that means he's either gonna go off, most likely.
Oh man. Hold on to your Christian Watson, people. Greg, your quarterback stream of the week, man. What do you got?
I'm going with Russell Wilson versus Minnesota, 49% rostered. Yeah, we talk about how Russell Wilson's having a sneaky, pretty good year. He's, touchdown rate is 6.9%. That's like Seattle days touchdown rate right now. And he's, only got 4 picks on the year. He's doing what he has to do on the field. Got 3 straight wins for this team. And Minnesota, I think, could be a matchup where it could pop off, hit the over, especially with Josh Dobbs on the other side. So Russell Wilson, making plays happen, making the right plays like he normally is.
Yeah, man, this is the Russell Wilson that we've known, the Russell Wilson I expected going into Denver last year
Hmm.
when I picked him as my dark horse MVP candidate. I don't know if you saw the Cortland Sutton posted on his Instagram story, the apology application for Russell Wilson.
Ooh.
And one of the very first things on there was because the media convinced me that it was his fault and not Nathaniel Hackett's. So as a Jet fan, I'm sitting here, just like, oh great,
Oof.
it's our
Oof.
offensive coordinator. So anyway, moving on to tight end stream of the week, and I like a good stack here. I'm going with Luke Musgrave. He's been coming on as of late. Big reason for that is Greg.
He's on the field.
He's on the field, staying healthy, finishing games. So what we like to see. He's averaging about 40 yards per game over his last 3. He scored a touchdown during that span as well, his first touchdown of the season. Would love to see more target volume from him, but hoping that against the LA Chargers, who allow the third most PPR points to the position over their last 3 weeks, that this could lead to another spike week here for Luke Musgrave.
Yeah, definitely a tough week for tight end streamers as well. And that was the name I was, looking at as well. Luke Musgrave should, if he's on the field, he should be in a good spot here.
Most definitely. Greg, what about you? Where are you going for your tight end stream of the week?
Yeah, deep in the bag, going 26% roster for Chigozum Okonkwo, going against Jacksonville. Last week had a second, as far as he hasn't season high 9 targets early in the season, but second highest total last Sunday at 6. Going against Jacksonville, solid matchup for the tight end position. I think Will Levis getting more chemistry with him. I think he can have a solid day.
Yeah, I see you're going with the supercharged version of Kyle Pitts here and Chigo.
Not 90% rostered. Not 90% rostered.
Not 90% rostered. It's just crazy how this season how Arthur Smith has forced me to make Kyle Pitts jokes repeatedly on this podcast.
They would never end. You just add players on too. You just add Brian Robinson. I mean, not Brian Robinson, Bijan Robinson. Hopefully, we have to ask Dre London eventually. But yeah, it's crazy.
Most crazy. Definitely wild stuff that Arthur Smith is capable of. My defensive stream of the week, going with Denver, man. Give me Denver's defense, 22% rostered in Yahoo leagues. They've been balling over their last several weeks. We talked about it in the lead up to the Buffalo game. Obviously, you're gonna play Joshua Dobbs, like Greg had mentioned, and the rest of your Vikings pieces. But I do like Denver to be a solid streaming option here. Over their last 3 games, they are the 7th. They are 7th in fantasy points per game, and that's in matchups against teams like Buffalo, Kansas City, Green Bay, which obviously the Green Bay game, whatever. And they also had a solid matchup against Kansas City the week prior. So I definitely like this defense. That they're far from the defense that gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. I like them in this matchup here. But here's another one for you, Greg. They play Cleveland next week. So this is like one of these 2-week streams right here.
Yeah, love it when you can get a multiple week defensive stream. That that is such a good thing, especially in today's world. I love this pick. Yeah, from where they came from, they're definitely playing very much well.
Greg, your defensive stream of the week this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jacksonville. 37% rostered going against Tennessee. Will Levis struggling a little bit, especially last week. I think they can create some turnovers, especially in this AFC South divisional battle. I think it'll be low scoring. I think there'll be turnovers to be had, sacks to be had in this game. Jacksonville, who had before the San Fran game, was playing very well actually against Indy, New Orleans, and Pittsburgh, doing a lot on the turnover battle as well. So I think they get back to that in this game.
Yeah, I like this one as well. I mean, Will Levis, we like the arm talent that he has, but part of the reason why he was not liked as much as a prospect, some of the other things like his footwork or his inability to sense pressure. I think that's the biggest thing, and his inability to sense pressure leads to a lot of sacks, and I think that's why Jacksonville is definitely a strong play this week against the rookie quarterback. All right, let's move on to breaking down these 1 p.m. games here. We are done with the London games and the Germany games. No more 9:30s. So yeah, let's jump right
They're
in.
like excited to have it when it first starts, and then by the last game, they're just like, all right.
Yeah, because the product is just not as
So
good.
bad. It just gets worse and worse. It's so bad. Oh man.
Oh. All right, let's jump into this first matchup here. The 4-6 LA Chargers traveling to Green Bay to take on the 3-6 Green Bay Packers, where this game has a 43.5-point total. Picking this game gives me anxiety. If I was a fan of this team, watching these teams play, like this game would give me anxiety because on one side you've got the Chargers who are like they only exist in one score games. Like that's all they
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you've got the Packers who are hot, look hot for a drive and then not so much. And Jordan Love, his ups and downs as well. So anyway, I'm going to take the over here. I will take the Chargers to cover. I will take the Chargers to win.
Yeah, I'm with you with the over and also with that Chargers cover and Chargers to win.
On the Green Bay side, talked about Jordan Love as my quarterback stream of the week. Obviously, Luke Musgrave as my tight end stream of the week. Aaron Jones, I think, I want to say he should bounce back here, man. This matchup is better than the one he had against Pittsburgh. I'd like to think the LA Chargers allow the second most PPR points to the running back position. I mean, they've been giving it up in the run game all year, basically, to competent offenses. So I don't see why this should be any different here. I think AJ Dillon has some flex appeal as well. How do you see that backfield breaking out this week?
Yeah, Aaron Jones is tough. I think he would have to be better, especially than what he was last week. A little up and down season, so I think that kind of has trend here. So I'm gonna have him as a solid RB2, to low end RB2. AJ Dillon is tough. It's tough. I don't know if I can go and trust him as per se, and it's even the same with the receivers. Outside of Jaden Reed is probably the safest name you can play right now as far as receivers.
Yeah, it's a good segue. Jaden Reed, I think. It's a hot take. I said it at the beginning of the year. I do prospect modeling, Greg. You know that. For wide receiver wise, Jaden Reed has a better profile than Christian Watson does, has a better profile than Romeo Doubs does. So in my eyes, he was the most talented, player coming into this year. Did that make him the best receiver? No, because those two things are different. But I think we've got to a point now where Jaden Reed is separating himself as the better receiver on this team.
Yeah, totally agree. So I will have him as a wide receiver 3 in this one.
Yeah, definitely. And then on the Chargers side, man, we're back to these concentrated offenses. Gotta love it. Austin Eckler in a fantastic spot here. The Green Bay Packers are just absolutely terrible against the run. Doesn't look so, the numbers don't look great from over the last 3 weeks, but on the year, they've just been giving it up to running backs. They gave it up to the Pittsburgh Steelers, both Pittsburgh Steelers running backs last week. So definitely like Eckler here. And Keenan Allen, obviously a wide receiver 1, and then Justin Herbert, man, no way he doesn't finish as a quarterback 1 in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Big 3.
Most definitely. Anything else on this game, Greg, before we move on?
No.
All right, moving on to the Jacksonville, Tennessee game. This game is the 3-6 Tennessee Titans travel to Jacksonville to take on the 6-3 Jacksonville Jaguars, where this game has a 40.5-point total. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are 6.5-point favorites at home. Greg, where are you going with this matchup here?
Yeah, taking the under, taking Tennessee to cover, but I'll take Jacksonville to win.
I'm taking the under, taking Tennessee to cover, taking Tennessee to win the
game. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just like, as we get later in the season, you start getting a better feel for these things, a better feel for these teams and how they play. I will say, the last 2 weeks I was 79% against the spread on my
Nice.
picks. So I'm getting into a nice little groove here. But I say all that to say I do like the Tennessee Titans in this one. I like their pieces. Derrick Henry, I think, is in a really nice spot here. Very, very close to being an RB1 projection wise, but I think rankings wise, that's where he'll end up being. This is a pretty ridiculous, Greg, but over his last 8 games against the Jacksonville Jaguars, so that spans 4 seasons, right?
It was like 213 or something.
Over his last 8 games, he has 180 carries for 1,100 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns in
Crazy.
8 games. Like, that's a season for some people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that's over 6 yards a carry. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, no, he's at exactly 6.1 during that span. Absolutely wild stuff there from the King. So yeah, I do like Derrick Henry to be an RB1 in this matchup. Greg, how do you feel about Derrick Henry in this spot?
Yeah, no, definitely love Derrick Henry in this matchup. Divisional, they established a run. I think Mike Vrabel will want to kind of put Will Levis in good spots here. So let's establish Derrick Henry first. Tajay Spears, I think they'll sprinkle him in a little bit too with some bye weeks. I think he is in that RB3, RB4 conversation. So yeah, it would be more of definitely a run game situation here in this game.
Yeah, I mean the Jacksonville Jaguars allow the 4th most PPR points to the running back position, so not much has changed since the last time that Derrick Henry has played them. I do like Will Levis to potentially come in here as a QB2. Jacksonville allows the 5th most fantasy points to the quarterback position. D-Hop, I think you can treat him as a wide receiver 3 with some wide receiver 2 upside. I don't know if you agree or disagree with any of those, Greg.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's the pass catcher I'm going to though. And Chico is not extremely weak tight end wise, and that'll be it.
On the Jacksonville side, Trevor Lawrence, probably one of the more disappointing quarterbacks. I mean, he's rostered purely on name recognition alone.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like the Trevor Lawrence managers at this point have owned him over CJ Stroud. Like they've let these guys go. Even Josh Dobbs in some games. Baker Mayfield. Yeah, it's been definitely. He's had a lot of leeway this year.
Yeah, most definitely. Travis Etienne, I think you got to treat him as an RB1.
Yes, sir.
Christian Kirk, a wide receiver 2. Calvin Ridley, even as much as we wanted to break out last week, it's been really tough. Like it's at a point now, like where you have to have there's a conversation to be had about should he even be rostered?
Yes.
Because there's this temptation of playing him every week just because he's
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, he's Calvin Ridley. And you see that Christian Kirk can exist in this offense, and you're just kind of like, well, when is Calvin really going to get his?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Zay Jones has been out this whole time, and you would think that even give him more of a bump in kind of production, and it just hasn't come. And Evan Ingram's there. You still kind of rely on him, but I don't know if you can rely on Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, definitely not. Evan Ingram, I think you got to treat him as a tight end 1. I mean, plays tight end.
Yeah.
Matchup is halfway not decent. 28th most fantasy points to the tight end position. So I guess regardless of the matchup, you're going to play him though.
Yeah, you're playing him. Yeah.
Question is, are you willing to flex Tajay Spears in this game?
I think he is not one of my most popular flexes. I think Jalen Warren is kind of into that most popular type RB3 flex in this spot. But if you have to, I wouldn't be hurting to do that.
Tajay Spears or Keaton Mitchell?
Keaton Mitchell.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to this next game here. We've got the 5-5 Las Vegas Raiders traveling to Miami, take on the 6-3 Miami Dolphins. This game has a 46.5 point total. The Miami Dolphins are 11.5 point favorites. I'm going to take the over here. I will take Las Vegas to cover, and I will take Miami to win.
Yeah, I was looking at the record. The Vegas, they're not under 500, but they're even. So Vegas will cover, and then Miami will still win. And yeah, I'm gonna take the over. Yeah, if they were under 500 though, Miami, they just seemed like this way. I don't know. It's just like that definitely would have covered.
um, yeah, this game is interesting. I mean, the Miami Dolphins could be getting Devon Achane back this week. They opened the practice window on him. So it's likely, or not likely, but it's probable that he could play this week. So definitely, if he does play, Greg, how do you view this backfield splitting up between Mostert and Achan, and obviously Ahmed and Jeff Wilson?
Yeah, I think kind of those latter two names you mentioned are gonna kind of fade away to not fantasy relevant, but Mostert and HN will be back to kind of high explosive, RB twos. With either one could get RB1 upside.
Yeah, definitely. I will view them both as an RB2. I mean, Achan, it doesn't take much, right? Like this
No,
dude before
nope.
he left was averaging 12 yards a carry. I would have to imagine that even if he's on limited work or limited usage, like he'd still be productive in that. Uh, in regards to the pass game, Tyreek Hill obviously going to be a wide receiver one. Tua Tagovailoa going to be a QB one. Jalen Waddle. The question isn't talent; it's more about like, is he going
He's
to
the Luke
stay?
Musgraves of wide receivers, man. It's crazy.
Hey, Jalen Waddle walked so Luke Musgrave could run.
True, true. You're right. You're right.
Um, yeah, it is what it is at this point. You know the upside here with Jalen Waddle. I think you in a season long league, you just have to keep playing him, and if he, leaves the game banged up, at that point it is what it is.
Yeah, man. You just hope it's like in the fourth quarter, third, or third quarter, just not the first or second.
At least I mean,
He's
I
he's fighting through. He came back in that last one with the knee injury. Like, yeah, he's fighting.
I mean, this is definitely worse than the AJ Brown year with the Titans, where it almost like every week I thought AJ Brown was done for the year. It was like every single week.
Yeah, he's AJ was still putting up like big time numbers though.
No, yeah, AJ
Yeah,
would come
yeah,
back and he'd be like, "Yeah, no, I'm good," and he'd catch a touchdown and just continue to go off, and you're like,
yeah,
"All right." But like with Jalen Waddle, it like legitimately impacts his production in the game. Like, and don't forget, this goes back to Alabama.
the championship game. He was out then. He was out the entire season or something, and he was
Like,
like questionable the game before, and then
yeah,
he didn't finish the game. I don't
and
think
they
he
had
finished.
like NFL players saying like, "Yo, they need to take that man off the field."
Yeah.
Like,
Word.
there's too much money on the line. Take this man off the field. Like, it was crazy, and he's still like probably the second fastest person on the field.
Yeah.
Absolutely absurd. On the Raiders side, Josh Jacobs, we've seen the production or the volume actually go up these last 2 weeks. Production has seemed to follow that. I thought it was interesting what they were saying on the broadcast about, or what Antonio Pierce was saying, where if he could build his offense around anybody, it was going to be Josh Jacobs. So that kind of just, when head coach says something like that and says it publicly, and then, it results in back-to-back games of over 20 touches. I'm going to continue to lean into that. Devontae Adams had a strong game against the New York Jets last week, in a game where you probably were not anticipating him to have a strong game. So definitely like, him to be a wide receiver 2 in this one.
Hmm.
Jacoby Myers had the down week last week, had the good week the week before, but are we at a point where like, can Aiden O'Connell support all of these pass game options?
No, I don't think so. I think it's gonna come down to one receiver per game, and I mean I'm more always gonna bet on Devontae as being that guy. Even Antonio Pierce says I'm not an idiot. I'm gonna give my best players the ball pretty much. So yeah, I think Devontae is gonna be leading the team in targets the rest of the season.
Yeah, Michael Mayer did catch a touchdown last week, but only had 2 targets. Um, any interest in him as a streaming option in this game where Vegas 11.5 point underdogs, probably gonna have to be throwing the ball a little bit?
Maybe, but yeah, it's tough to really trust him right now. Can't really rely on touchdowns. If his QB situation was better, I'd be here for it.
Yeah, it's just maddening when teams use draft picks on players and then like don't use the players, like
Yeah, yeah.
Arthur Smith.
Especially offensive players, like you could just stack up the defense if you're gonna do that.
And then it's like, oh, we tried to get him the ball, or we tried to get him more snaps, but just didn't really work out. And it's like, bro, you're the boss. Like what you say goes. Absolutely maddening. Let's take anything you want to add to this game before we move on.
No.
Let's take a quick question real quick. George Play 01. Hey guys, I'm 9-1. My team is Tua, CMC, K9, Cooper Kupp, Waddle, Njoku, and Olave in the flex. On his bench, he's got Justin Fields, Jalen Warren, Keaton Mitchell, Leonard Fournette, Tank Dell, Deontay Johnson, and JSN. Probably a good reason why you're 9-1. Want to trade Kenneth Walker for another running back with a better schedule? Who could I target, or who should I add at a wide receiver to seek a better running, or should I add a wide receiver to seek a better running back? You want to trade Kenneth Walker? It's tough. Well, thinking about guys who you would trade for without having a list of all the guys in front of me.
I feel like you could trade Kupp or Waddle, honestly, because you have Tank Dell on the bench, which I would be starting him.
Trying to find a way to get Tank Dell in that lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I would be definitely starting him.
Tank Dell does have kind of a tough schedule down the stretch, so maybe you could, as much as I hate to say it, because that's my guy, but like, he's got maybe it's not that bad. I mean, he's got the Jets in first round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, that's not the first round of playoffs. It's the week prior to the playoffs. Then he's got Tennessee. He's got Cleveland in the semis, and then he's got Tennessee championship week. So those are actually not bad matchups at all, save for the Cleveland and the Jets game. So if you need to get in, but you're 9-1, so you could take the hit. You're probably going to have, the bye week. So yeah, I would. Yeah, maybe you could move a Waddle. Maybe you add Kenneth Walker, and maybe you can go get a guy like. Could you get a Jahmyr Gibbs? Right? Could you get a? Look, this is gonna sound crazy. I still like Bijan. Most touches that he had last week.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely
going into the bye week now.
Trending up a little bit. I think the other guy would definitely accept that. So
the thing is you could get more in return, possibly.
Yeah. With his price right now, yeah.
You could probably get more in return. Javonte Williams is another guy I think you could probably buy. Because I think with Kenneth Walker, like you're not going to get I don't think you're going to get a significant upgrade, right? Like I don't think you're going to get up to an Austin Eckler. You're not going to get up to
Joe Mixon or
like and even then, right? Like a lot of these seem like lateral moves almost. Like on the surface, they look like lateral moves. I think what you really want when you're trying to move Kenneth Walker is you're trying to get out of that situation, right? You're trying to get out of the, hey, I need him to score on a long run or, to a touchdown. Like I need a guy who's going to get me consistently 18 to 20 opportunities a game and see what happens. He's saying maybe Kenneth Walker and Waddle for Eckler or Montgomery. Yeah, I was going to say Montgomery. And again, you could probably, I mean, depending on how the Montgomery manager feels, right? Like you could probably move Kenneth Walker and Waddle, get Montgomery and a piece back because
I think you get a piece back still too. Yeah.
Right. So like that'd be something I'd be thinking of doing. Maybe James Conner, right? Because that's another guy who's going to get some volume as he gets healthier. DeAndre Swift is another guy I think you could probably buy into. So that's probably where I'd be going. But I would think about it more of like trying to get out of the Kenneth Walker situation for a guy who's going to bet. Like I would take Rachaad White in a vacuum over Kenneth Walker, because at least you know the production is going to be there every week, and he's going to be involved in the passing game as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Nino Pena is saying, you guys like Singletary versus Cardinals, even if Pierce is back.
Yes.
Yes, I do like that. I think Singletary, I mean, we haven't even seen a game where Dameon Pierce touched the ball 30 times.
No.
I mean, they do love Dameon Pierce, I'm sure, in that team, in that locker room. But I just believe what the coaches are not telling us, but what they're showing us by who they give these opportunities to. George Player One coming back saying Tony Pollard could be an option. He could. Look, the schedule is nice, or you would hope that regression should be coming. But the thing with Tony Pollard is he has not been efficient, and that's what makes him a tough buy, right? Because if he was, averaging like 5 yards a carry and he was getting all these yards, but he's not scoring touchdowns, then I would be like, yeah, let's go buy Tony Pollard. But the volume is there, but the production is not. And he's even had some spots. Like, if he can't get it done this week against Carolina, like, I'm out.
Yeah, he's only averaging 3.9 yards per carry this year. He's not getting the touchdowns. He's not something I want. His upside is just not there right this year.
Yeah, definitely. Nino Pena coming back saying, feel pretty weak at running back with Bijan, Brees, Warren, Connor, Singletary. Should I wait these guys out or try flip two? I think I would wait it out.
I like the running backs with Bijan, Brees, and Warren. I think those are like possible 3 starters, and you're going into playoffs.
And then you've got James Conner as well as he gets healthier.
Yeah,
like I think Singletary is like potentially a trade piece. Like unless you're starting him this week, you could trade him to a team that like needs to win. Like I need wins. Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, they're on bye, but I need to win. Like I think Devin Singletary makes a ton of sense for managers like that.
Yeah. And I think Jaylen Warren is one of the. I feel like 100% of managers will want him on their roster right now.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to. Well, let's move on to this next game. We do have a few more questions in there, but we'll get on to the games and we'll come back for the questions. The next game we are going to cover here, we've got the 6-3 Dallas Cowboys traveling to Carolina to take on the 1-8 Carolina Panthers, where this game has a 41.5 point total, and the Dallas Cowboys are 10.5 point favorites on the road here. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take Dallas to cover. I'm going to take Dallas to win.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as drastic as last week, but I think the kind of formula of what's going to happen is going to happen here. Dallas scores in a lot of points, so I'll take the over. Dallas to cover, Dallas to win. Same.
Carolina side, I guess that's the easier side to start with. How do you see Thielen this week? Has had some down weeks. This offense doesn't look too good. I just got an alert. Frank Reich, who gave up play calling duties earlier in the year, is now taking them back. So, how do you?
Wide receiver 3 with some wide receiver 2 upside. That's probably the best I can give him right now.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, and that's really the only player I would be willing to start on this team. Can't go anywhere else.
Not even a Chuba Hubbard?
No.
Not even a little bit?
No.
Okay, you heard it. Greg says no. He vetoes it. I'm not going to say it. On the Dallas side, CeeDee Lamb, does the streak stop? Does the 10 for 150 stop?
Ooh, that's the fact that I'm thinking about it is crazy. Like 10 for 150. I mean, he could get it again. The schedule is nice. The matchup is nice. They're going to be up. They're going to be dominating this game. I think he gets 100. I lock that in. I'll lock in 100.
What about the 10 receptions?
Yeah, I think he gets 10 though again. Yeah.
Dak staying in the Flames?
Absolutely. And Luke Musgrave, baby. Yeah.
You don't even know his name. It's Jake Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson, baby. Yeah.
I really can't get behind it, man. I really can't.
Tight end one.
Yeah, ish.
Like mid-tier tight end one. Yeah,
Mid
yeah.
tier. Yeah, exactly.
Mid-tier.
Mid tier. He like exists in that like 7 to like 10 range with upside to get into like the top 5.
Yeah, that means you're like a 6 to kind of 5 guy, then that,
But some of these stat lines, man, they just like it's
But the
like yeah,
trend though, it's been better and more consistent lately. So it's like a what? What have you done for me lately? He's doing that right now.
like I see if when I see a 7 target stat line, 2 catches and a touchdown, I get really nervous about that. Oh, sorry. Last week it was 7
4.
for 4. Like his best game was by far the Philadelphia game. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, absolutely.
he has 3. Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're right. He has 3 straight games with a touchdown. I mean, they throw it when they get to the red zone. So, yeah. But
He's here, yo. Here to stay.
Brandon Cooks, are you playing him?
Yeah, I think he's entered in flex territory. Yes.
Tony Pollard. We just talked about him. If he can't get it done, I said I'm out.
Yeah, he's RB3 for me in this matchup. It's a great matchup.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because rankings
He's,
like projections wise, I'm like RB3, but like
he's had great matchups this
oh
season.
God, you're right. He has. Yeah, it's tough, man. I can't do it. I can't do it. Tony Pollard RB3 with some RB2 upside because of the matchup. Anything else on that game, Greg?
No.
All right, moving on. I wish this game could be in like prime time. We got the 2-8 Arizona Cardinals traveling to Houston to take on the red hot 5-4 Houston Texans. This game is a 47.5 point total, where the Houston Texans are 4.5 point favorites at home here. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Oh yeah, hammering this over here. I'm gonna take the Cardinals to cover, but I'm gonna take Texans to win.
Yeah, I am same exact way. Over Cardinals to cover, Texans to win. On the Arizona side, I think Trey McBride, obviously, you got to stay in the flames with him as a tight end 1. How many tight ends would you rather have? Would you take over Trey McBride rest of the season?
TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta,
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews. Yeah,
that's it, right?
I think that's it. Dallas, I think he's better. He's rest of the season. Dallas got it. Because he's hurt. He's got a fracture rib anyway. So, yeah, I think that's where we're at. I think he's over Evan Ingram right now.
Yeah. Kyler Murray, QB1 in this spot.
Yep.
I think James Conner can get back to being an RB2. It was disappointing last week, but I don't think he was 100% this week. Last week, let's see what the practice report looks like. I think Marquise Brown definitely should be able to bounce back. Had just missed out on a touchdown last week, so probably going to put him in wide receiver 2 territory. The question becomes like these tertiary pieces, right? Because we talked about this all year that, hey, I don't want Michael Wilson. I don't want Rondale Moore unless Kyler's here and he's back, because then I feel really good about that. Are you willing to play these tertiary Arizona pieces now?
I think I have to see it. Michael Wilson, in deeper leagues, I think you can make an argument to start him in a flex. But yeah, I would want to see it again. I think I'd take Noah Brown over any tertiary piece in this game.
Oh yeah, I mean Noah Brown is a primary piece. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, I mean, if all four now, if Nico, we're saying Nico, Robert Woods, Tank Dell, and Noah Brown all on the field, and Dalton Schultz, like, where's the ranking?
Noah Brown. Wait, but I just do want to stay on the Arizona piece.
Okay.
Rondale Moore last week with Kyler had 8 targets, which he turned into 5 catches for 43 yards. So if you're playing in a PPR league, I do think that's halfway decent production. And then Michael Wilson did have some downfield opportunities. So depending on what you need, depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking for that safe floor, I think Rondell helps you. If you're looking for, that big boom play, I think Michael Wilson helps you. But I don't see them as anything more than like wide receiver threes.
Yeah, I agree.
On the Houston side, I think obviously CJ Stroud, QB1, Devin Singletary, I think he's an RB1, assuming Dameon Pierce doesn't go. Even if Dameon Pierce does go, I think it downgrades him just a little bit, but I still think he's in that top 16 or 17 of running backs. Dalton Schultz, tight end 1.
Yep.
I think you have to. And then I'm treating all the Texans wide receivers, all 3 of them. When I say all 3, I'm saying Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Noah Brown.
Okay.
Treating them all as wide receiver 2s.
I think I'm on board with all of that. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, you can't put Noah Brown back in the box.
No, you can't bench him. You can't bench this man right now. You gotta start him.
Have to. And I think they like it this way. I think they like having all of these pieces. Like, literally, they all have like an 18 to 22% target share, like across the board.
It's awesome. I mean, they were just probably playing 11 the entire game, and they're just eating it up.
Love it, absolutely love it. Anything else on this game, Greg, before we move on?
No, definitely excited for this game though.
Definitely. We've got the 6-3 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cleveland to take on the 6-3 Cleveland Browns. This game has a 33.5 point total, which is down from 36.5 after the Deshaun Watson news. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are now 1.5 point favorites after being 4.5 point underdogs with the Deshaun Watson news. So with this one, Greg, I'm going to take the under here. I think I was taking the under regardless. I'm taking Pittsburgh to cover. I was taking Pittsburgh to cover regardless. But I will take Pittsburgh to win, as I was anticipating Cleveland would win this game here at home. But obviously with the Watson news, I'm giving Pittsburgh for the win. Greg, where are you at with this one?
Yeah, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Pittsburgh to cover and Pittsburgh to win. But if I really wanted to bet a tie, it'd be on this game right here. This game just feels like a tie to me right now.
Oh, man. We could bet that, right? We could totally bet that.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, I did not update my notes on this one. Jerome Ford, is he the only Brown you're willing to play, or David Njoku as well?
I'd start Amari Cooper too. I think as a flex wide receiver 3.
Amari Cooper was like very, very, very like he started the week Tuesday. I was doing my prep, and I'm like, Amari Cooper looks like wide receiver start of the week right now. And his stat lines with other Browns quarterbacks are not very good. He would be like a wide receiver 3 for me, and I would not be excited to play him. But I do think David Njoku could exist as a tight end 1 potentially here. On the Pittsburgh side, they're in a tough spot too, man. Cleveland, 32nd at most points to quarterbacks, 29th most points to running backs, 18th most points to wide receivers, and 29th most points to the tight end position. So
Steelers' run game has been tremendously better over the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I will treat. I know there was a lot of talk about Jaylen Warren being named the starter over Najee Harris, but then when you heard Mike Tomlin speak about that, it seemed to be more like more of like an honorary way to acknowledge him and acknowledge the work that he'd been doing. Najee Harris still out carried Jaylen Warren in that game, but the snap split was fairly even between the two. So I mean, I haven't had one of these guys significantly over the other since the season started. I mean, you haven't had it that way either, Greg. Both these guys have been playable all year. I wouldn't go that far, but Jaylen Warren, I think, and Najee Harris probably going to be both RB3s for me going into this tough matchup against Cleveland.
Yeah, I like RB3s. I think they can fall into top 25 more RB2 guys. Just especially Warren with his pass catching abilities. But yeah, so I'm with you. They're both playable. I would like to play them more than the receivers, especially. I'll give you that.
This backfield kind of reminds me of, Greg. Remember the Chargers a few years ago, like several years ago, maybe like 8 years ago, when they had a first round running back in Melvin Gordon,
Hmm.
and they had an undrafted free agent in Austin Eckler.
Yeah,
That's what this
yeah,
backfield reminds me of.
yeah. Nah, it's true. Yeah. And you see the talent. Like every time Jalen Warren gets the ball, he's getting like less touches. He's just been a little more efficient. Yeah.
And it's just kind of wild because I was watching Jalen Warren. I was watching Ian Hartitz posted. He usually posts this like weekly, like so and so is good at football, and Jalen Warren was the guy this week. And he even wears number 30 just like Eckler does. Low to the ground just like Eckler. I'm just like, maybe the Steelers probably, we had this conversation the other day. Maybe they regret taking Najee Harris in the first round. I know who they should have taken in the first round that year because I talked about it ad nauseum. Or maybe it was the second round. Is it the same, even the same draft class? I wanted them to take Jalen Hurts, basically. Like, just take Jalen Hurts.
I think I remember that. I think you do remember saying that. Yeah.
Anyway, Deontay Johnson, it seems to be the option over George Pickens. Are you playing Deontay as a wide receiver 3, 2? How do you see him?
3, I think, with some wide receiver 2 upside with the receptions. But yeah, it'd be really tough to play Pickens. You're banking on a touchdown or a big play here. It's tough. I think he's in that bench category for this week.
Yeah, definitely want to. It's tough, man, because Pickens is he's so enticing because what he's capable of.
Yeah.
But it's really tough, man. Definitely tough. Moving on to, are we done with this game, Greg?
Yeah, we are.
Moving on to this next game here, we've got the 2-8 New York Giants traveling to Washington to take on the 4-6 Washington Commanders. This game has a 36.5 point total, where the Washington Commanders are 9.5 point favorites at home. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Give me the under. Give me Washington to cover. Washington to win.
Give me the under. Give me the Giants to cover. Give me Washington to win.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of teams have covered against the Giants this year. That's all. I don't know. It feels real bad right now.
It's crazy is that like 4 weeks ago these teams played and it was 14-7 Giants.
Because Tyrod was there. I had some faith. I was like, oh, we actually look like some type of team.
But Tyrod didn't lead them to stopping Washington, to holding Washington to 7 points. I don't like.
Well, now the defense is on the field every play. They're on the field literally all the time. Like, you gotta get tired. Like, eventually, they're always on the field. And then now their morale, their heart, when you don't want it, they're like, oh, here we go again. Like, they just keep the helmet on the sideline, probably.
Oh man. Well, Brian Daboll did announce that Tommy DeVito will start again. I don't know, like,
who do we have? Matt Barkley? Is that like the last option?
They just signed him last week. I mean, were they gonna start Matt Barkley? I mean, the fact that he had to announce that just kind of like made me look like, what? Maybe he was asked and was like, yeah, no, we're going with we're going with Tommy DeVito. But we'll see, man. In terms of this game here, on the Giants side,
Saquon. That's it.
It's Saquon. That's it.
Yeah.
But like, are you like? Last week I had some questions, right? Last week I had some questions.
You did.
Could you actually play him in this matchup? This week I have a similar question, except I'm on the other side of it. I think you can play him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can play him. In the first Washington game they played, he had a good day. So yeah, he's the only option. It's
gotta suck, man, that he's stuck there, bro. Like, got franchise tagged, couldn't leave. He could get franchise tagged again. Like, and he's literally all they have. So it's like, here, take the ball.
Yeah, here's the ball 25 times. Like,
I hope you don't hurt an ankle.
are you already underpaid?
Oh, and then you'll be like underpaid again next year because they'll be like, well, look at the year you had.
True. They'll give them the final numbers and not the context, of course. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh man,
Brutal.
absolutely crazy stuff. On the Washington side, are you all in on the Washington offense here then?
Absolutely. Sam Howell, Brian Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. I think he's at some intrigue here as well. Just the matchup is good, but the first three names: Logan Thomas, then Jahan Dotson. There we go. But yeah, I think all those guys.
You missed one, Antonio Gibson.
Oh yeah, and AG. That's true. Yeah, they're
and
all upgrades.
All upgrades, and then Dotson is at the last.
Yeah.
Like, you could play Dotson if you like pain. if you like to experience pain, you can play him totally because the matchup looks good. He's out there getting loads of exercise. His quarterback leads the league in pass attempts, leads the league in passing yards. Yet Jahan Dotson can't sniff any of it.
No.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, you touched on everything, so I'm good there. Moving on to the last and final game we are covering today, the 3-7 Chicago Bears traveling to Detroit to take on the 7-2 Detroit Lions. This game has a 46.5 point total. I actually have to see if this line moved at all because when I picked this game, I was anticipating that Justin Fields was going to play. We did get confirmation that he is going to start. At least Matt Eberflus said the expectation is that he starts in this game here. So curious to see if that line moved at all. And
47.5 now.
47.5, and the Detroit Lions are now 8.5 point favorite.
Yep. Okay.
So, that being said, I am taking the over here. I'm taking Chicago to cover. I'm taking Detroit to win.
Yeah, I'm with the over now. That Fields is back. I'm gonna take Detroit to cover though, and Detroit to win.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was curious to see if Fields was going to go. Definitely, now we know he does. I'm excited to see him go.
Absolutely.
In this matchup, he was on a tear before. Obviously suffering the thumb injury.
Yep.
We will probably be in like my top 10 of quarterbacks this week. Despite the time off, might even go higher than that. You view it that way, Greg?
Yeah, he's an instant plug and play QB1. He's back to that level. I mean, before the 2 full games that he played before he got hurt, man, had 8 touchdowns. So he's on a tear.
Now, asking for a friend here, Greg. Now, imagine, you had Justin Fields and he was playing so poorly to start the year, and so you needed other options. And then you had CJ Stroud, and then you played Justin Fields because he started heating up, had some good matchups on deck. And then Justin Fields got hurt, so you've just been rocking with CJ Stroud this whole time. But now Justin Fields comes back. How do you handle that?
I think it's definitely a good situation to be in. I'm gonna rock with Stroud right now, just because he's on a groove. You don't want to cut off that momentum. You don't want to see him on your bench and Stroud going off. I'd rather see it from Fields on my bench, and then we could have that conversation next week.
I think I agree with that one there too, right? Like, I'm playing Stroud. Plus, the game environment for Stroud is really nice too, right? He's in a dome.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, this game's in a dome too.
Yeah.
He's in a dome. You could anticipate. I guess they're kind of in the same spot, except for the fact that the spread is much closer in Stroud's game, and he's actually favored to win that game. But essentially, they're in the same spot where. Except there's one thing that's a difference, right? Stroud probably has a better matchup with Arizona. So that would probably be where you say, oh, you know what? Let me commit to playing Stroud and play Fields. But are there any quarterbacks like Like, would you play Brock Purdy or Justin Fields? Because Brock Purdy's been really good. I don't think people talk about that enough.
Yeah. I think I take Justin Fields.
Justin Fields or Jared Goff?
That's tough. I think I take. I'll lean Fields.
Justin Fields or Josh Allen against the Jets?
Oh yeah, Justin Fields. Justin Fields. I've seen enough of Josh Allen against the Jets and Josh Allen this year to, I mean, that definitely he's been number one QB, but every time he plays the Jets, man, it's just something happens. Something's in the air.
And then the last one I'll give Justin Fields or Sam Howell.
Justin Fields.
All right, you heard it. We're playing Justin Fields, except for unless your name is CJ Stroud.
Yeah, Mahomes.
Hurts.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about, I guess, staying with the Chicago side on the passing game. Cole Kmet, tight end 1. I think he was going to be a tight end 1, but I think this elevates his upside. DJ Moore.
If any player needed Justin Fields back on the field more, in the NFL, if anyone needed their quarterback back more, it's DJ Moore, man.
Most definitely, man. I mean, has some significant wide receiver, like 2 wide receiver 1 upside here with Justin Fields back in the fold. Now, the question is, what do you do with the backfield? We talked about this on Monday a little bit. I'm choosing to lean into Foreman as the running back in this backfield. You could also probably subscribe to the notion that they don't want to run Justin Fields in his first game back with the thumb injury, potentially get more damage or re-injure there. So I do like Foreman as a potential RB2 in this one.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they like the play style, like you were mentioning earlier in the week. Yeah, they're giving him the ball close to 20 times.
Yeah. On the Detroit side, how do you view this running back or this backfield splitting up between Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery?
Yes, I mean, same as kind of has it been, early in the year and kind of last week. I think Gibbs kind of has the higher upside, but Montgomery is still no slouch. I think he's still a strong RB2 with some possible RB1 upside as well. So, yeah, they're both playable.
Yeah. Also, don't forget revenge game for David Montgomery here. Spent his entire career in Chicago prior to being in Detroit. So wouldn't be surprised to see him, get in the end zone a couple times here. But I view it the same way. Both have a ton of upside. Jared Goff, a QB1, I think, in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's like an auto start.
He really is an auto start. I mean, I remember the streak of those consecutive games about his over 15 or 12 PPR points. He's so consistent, man.
And then Sam Laporta had a down week last week, but think he's back to upper echelon tight end 1 territory.
Yeah, you got to throw him in there. Yeah.
All right, most definitely. All right, we got a bunch of questions in the chat. I'm not going to read this name because this is a family-friendly podcast, but the person's first name is Dees. Kincaid or Laporta rest of season? Is Dawson Knox coming back? I think Greg, I'll kick it to you, but I do think Dawson Knox does return at some point.
Yeah, I think he returns at some point. I don't think I think the Bills like what Kincaid is doing. So, they drafted him in a good spot. So, I think he still is going to have a tight end 1 season. I still will take Laporta with a slight edge, though, over Kincaid for the rest of the season.
Yeah, both these guys in a very similar spot. Kincaid has been the second option in this pass game behind only Stephon Diggs. Sam Laporta is the second option in the pass game behind only Amon-Ra St. Brown. So they're both in very similar spots. They're both really good, prospects. Kincaid was a first-round pick. Laporta, early second-round pick. So both these guys are in great spots rest of the season. if I had to pick one, I think I'm gonna just continue to lean into Laporta, just because there's less questions there. Dawson Knox, even if he does come back, like you said, I agree, right? Like I do think Kincaid has done enough that Dawson Knox, um, takes plays second fiddle to Kincaid. But there's also the world where like we get this totally wrong. They just had a change at coordinator as well, so we don't know how that will impact the usage of Kincaid and Dawson Knox. So I just think there's less.
Diggs first and then Diggs second. I think with the new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I just think Laporta has less question marks surrounding him and his situation.
That's fair. Yeah, that's good.
George Player 1 for the flex: Keaton, Jalen Warren, Tank Dell, or Deontay in a non PPR.
It's good to know.
Very good to know.
I think I would take Tank Dell then.
Yeah, it's between Tank or Jalen Warren for me.
Yeah.
Jalen Warren is a tougher matchup. So I think give me Tank Dell, because at that point, non PPR league, you're just, those big plays from Tank Dell are going to be what you want, what you need. Dylan coming in saying, "What up, boys? What's going on, Dylan? Got a trade situation. I'll remind you of my team first: Stroud, Pollard, Mixon, James Cook, Herbert, Hunt, and Spears. Diggs, Ayuk, Hollywood, Downs, Reed, and then Andrews and McBride at tight end. It's a pretty stacked team there. I got an offer to trade for both Bijan and Kelsey. Would be Mixon, Cook, and Andrews for the two of them. I think I'm holding.
Yeah, I think so. I think it makes you significantly better.
I mean, you're betting on Bijan with this trade?
Yeah, I feel like Mixon and Bijan at worst is even, and I still like Mixon a little more than Bijan rest of the season.
Yeah, and James Cook, again, we don't know how the change in coordinator could affect things. We talked about him being a perpetual RB2 because he's not going to get those touchdowns. And the thing is like, because I have Andrews in the league as well, and I've thought about trading away some depth to go from Andrews to Kelsey, but it's like, like we're splitting at that point.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
But obviously, Dylan, as we always say, your team do what you see fit. And then Duffy coming in. What should I do with Monty? Start him.
Play him, baby.
That's it.
Play him.
That's it. Dylan coming back saying Bijan has really good playoff matchups though, which is what I was going for. Carolina, Indy, and Chicago. I mean, if your target is Bijan, I don't think you have to give up Mixon, Cook, and Andrews to get there. I think you can give up Cook plus like another option, right? Like Cook plus Hollywood, right? Could get you to Bijan, or Cooks plus Jaden Reed could get you to Bijan, right? So I don't think that I would necessarily do that. And then because you have Andrews and McBride at tight end, like you could turn around and trade one of those 1-for-1 for like a wide receiver.
True. Yeah.
Right. So don't think you have to do all of that. Duffy is asking, what should I do with Monty? Team is Stroud, Fields, Kamara, Monty, Cook, Amon-Ra, Hill, DJ, Sutton, Tank Dell, and then London and Hawkinson. What changes do you recommend I make? More importantly, I don't know what to do with Fields. We were just talking about this one. Stroud and Fields, I think you just hold him. I think you could probably get away with trading Justin Fields. If you're really I don't think you were very strong at running back. Like I would play Kamara, Monty, and Cook. Rotate those three every week.
Yep. Totally agree.
All right. Let's close this one out. We are definitely over. We will catch y'all tomorrow. Break down the Greg
Yeah, man, excited for this week. Excited for these games. Yeah, again, emphasizing those primetime games, even though the Sunday night is not too bad. But yeah, that Super Bowl rematch is everything right now.
Yes, sir. And we're going to break all of it down right here tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. See y'all then. Have a good one, everybody. We're out of here. Peace.
We out.